Joe, the SEC implemented this past week that they're going to 9 conference games. You and I have talked about this a lot, but now that it is here and Greg Sankey and everybody have implemented, what are your thoughts? Now, I'm going to give you a little nugget here. Multiple head coaches did their week 0 radio shows. I think Kalen DeBoer, Brian Kelly, and others. Of all the coaches that I heard this week, they all had one thing to say about the 9 conference game schedule. It revolved around the playoff, and it revolved around the strength of schedule and strength of record metric that was changed by the playoff committee. This past week, the playoff committee changed, which we didn't really get to a lot because we had so much going on. But they did change their strength of schedule and strength of record metric of allowing teams into the playoff who go through tough schedules. This week, obviously, the SEC goes to 9 conference games. What are your thoughts about the SEC going to 9 conference games?
When we were talking about this pre-show, I know that we weren't necessarily on the same page, but I really do think that this was the power play that either Tony Petitti or Greg Sankey needed to put out there as they're jockeying back and forth. I said this when Petitti pitched his barnyard-ass 2018 playoff that was so ridiculous that it felt like he was screwing with Sankey, that he was basically putting out there, you don't want to follow what I'm pitching. We're going to start to build momentum for something that is going to be a complete ugly mess. I don't think that there was any legitimate actual support for it. Maybe there were some coaches that wanted it, but I find it hard to believe. Now that there is this emphasis point by the College Football Playoff Committee that they have put out there where strength of schedule means something, I think the chess master that Sankey is saw an opportunity to really pounce. If he built the SEC schedule not only with a 9-game schedule, but also demanding its teams to schedule a Power 4 opponent, there's no reason that they can't occupy 6 or 7 spots if you have enough teams going 9-3 or better. We were discussing this pre-show, and I think that that's what the big pivot point for this is that we're now in a spot where 9-win teams in the SEC, as long as they have a number of big ranked wins and they're not getting blown out by their other losses, we're going to see 9-3 SEC teams get in over most 10-2 teams in other conferences. Strength of victories is now important, and I think that is what the biggest key for this
and
is.
Strength of losses. Part of the memo,
yes.
The strength of losses are just as equally big.
So the biggest part with this, Blake, is I do think that this is the move by Sankey that now puts Tony Petitti on his heels. I don't think there's an effective counter he can have.
All right. Just because I'm seeing it in the chat, I'm going to bring this up. The NCAA does not run the college football playoff. It's its own entity. So the NCAA has no regard. I kind of see it in the chat there, so just wanted to kind of clarify that. Number one, I'm going to go back to what you just said in just a moment because I do think it is a power play. However, it's dumb to go to 9 conference games, in my opinion. I've been very vocal about this. You already have the top strength of schedule literally the last 20 years. Now, have there been teams like Texas who last year hovered around the mid to lower 30s? Yes. But, Joe, let's go look at some of the teams last season that did not get in and went through brutal schedules. South Carolina was in the top 20 or was in the top 10. Georgia was the number 1 strength of schedule in the country. Ole Miss was in the top 10. Texas A&M was in the top 10. LSU was in the top 10. Do I need to keep going? Because I have a laundry list of the top 15 right here who were strength of schedule. Joe, the top 20, there were 13 teams in the SEC that hovered in that top 25 range, but there were 7 teams that hovered around the top 12. Joe, they had almost half of the top 10. So when you sit there and you look at strength of schedule and strength of record, I'm not saying you shouldn't have gone to it, but there also comes a point in time where you are already doing it from a strength of schedule standpoint. It's not just last year included. I can go year upon year about this and have a segment on AYS if you want to go listen to it of every single year. Joe, think about this. Over the last 2 decades, the SEC averages a strength of schedule of 15th. They average a strength of record 2. So you get to a situation where I don't know if the 9th conference game benefits you from on the field and necessarily in the part of you didn't really need to do it. Now, I know the fans want the extra competitive game. The Big Ten has been clamoring for weeks, for months, for years. You got to go to non-conference games. It's not equal. Buddy, you don't want to talk about equality. I'm sorry, but you don't want to talk about equality. Greg Sankey pulled a fast one on a TV guy. To your point, Greg Sankey has been a commissioner for the last 2 decades, not just in the SEC, but he was also in the Southland Conference. Hello. He knows this game. He knows what needs to be done. Joe, he went to the playoff committee behind closed doors. He got this strength of schedule and strength of record metric that is in there so that if they go to 9 conference games, it benefits his conference. This power play will be solidified as you bring up if and only if they do not go to the AQ model. If they go to the AQ model, it means nothing. Then they would have completely folded to the Big Ten. Now that you would have 11 at-large bids, why in the world is strength of record and strength of schedule is a big deal? Why would you ever go to an AQ model? It is the dumbest thing humanly possible you can do at the current moment. Now, I don't think he's going to do that. But they also implemented that you got to go outside of your conference and play a Power 4 opponent as well. Joe, I don't think that 7 teams will get in. I'm going to need to see 5, maybe even 6 to get in. I kind of need to see 5 to get in. And that might very well happen this season with that metric. I agree with you that it's a power play that they might enact here. But the Big Ten clamoring on this, they got hosed because there is no counteract to this. Now, I will just say this. Why would you do it? Like, outside of the playoff, what makes it make sense? You already ran the strength of schedule metric. Why are you making it harder for your teams? Joe,
wait, what do you mean by that? Because
let me give an example. There are 4 teams this year that already are going to play 7 ranked opponents. 7. Let's just say hypothetically this year, a team like LSU, who doesn't have Georgia or Texas on their schedule, has to play Georgia or Texas now. Joe, there's a very strong chance that they could be 8-4, 9-3, and be the number 1 strength of schedule in the country, and you have to have the God's honest conversation with yourself. They beat 4 ranked opponents, and they went 4-3, 4-4 against ranked opponents. Indiana didn't play but 2 last year. Teams above 500. So what are you really going to clamor in this? How's that metric going to work? Now, here's the last thing. I don't know if the SEC actually goes to it. Let me tell you why. Because they have not enacted this yet. And not enacting it, I would ask the question, Joe, we have seen the College Football Playoff Committee change their metrics at the end of the college football selection the last 2 years. 2023, they changed their metrics in reference to getting the best teams in versus the most deserving. Remember, all year, Boo Kerrigan was talking about, hey, we want to get the teams in there that are the most deserving. Well, I guess unless it's Florida State, because then we're going to put Alabama in there. Last year, it was about record and record alone. If you're 11-1, you're 11-1 and you're getting in. Joe, it was about the most deserving and the best teams to get into the 12 until the last weekend when SMU and other teams got in there. My question is, you might have done all this, but there is a little thing that you might not be able to surpass. What if they change their metrics again and they cut you out? Then you go into 9 conference games. You have killed yourself in some ways.
Okay, so I think that there's a lot to
unpacked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely no. You're not sorry. I mean, this is the complex nature of this. I don't think that this is just like a natural cut and dry. To not so much backtrack, but the biggest part is how does this 9-game schedule play into what the next step is for what the playoff becomes? 12 team, 16 team, whatever it is. There is a higher likelihood, I think, in my eyes, at the current moment, that it sticks at 12. based on what Sankey has been doing. Him making this move and adjusting the schedule is basically a middle finger to Petiti and saying, you wanted this so bad. You so badly wanted us to do this. Here you go. He, in a way, is kind of giving up a little bit of leverage to Petiti because now Petiti can't act like he's being as stubborn as he was before. I think that if this sticks at 12 is where the SEC now has so much dominance. And because they have so much of an opportunity for dominance, it gives them Sankey leverage in the negotiation to be able to push further for them to expand to the 16-team model to the format that they want. I don't think,
which is the 5+11 model.
Yes, which is the 5+11 model. So like what I'm trying to get at here is that there's no chance that this really expands further at the current moment based on what a lot of people have reported on it. A lot of people have talked about how it's kind of hit its sticking point. It doesn't seem likely that after the SEC made a change like this, that it will suddenly expand unless the Big Ten pushes off its spot. The Big Ten is going to need to relent to some degree.
Can I ask I'm just asking. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm asking the question as to have this conversation. Did Greg Sankey pull one over on Tony Petiti? Because let me say this too. Tony Petiti has not done a good job we were talking about this a month ago, Joe, at Big Ten Media Days. He has done such a horrible job at translating to the human fan base and fan bases around the country. He thinks he's just talking to Big Ten people. He's not. He's done such a horrible job at trying to win me over for more of an expanded playoff. He hasn't done it. And I think Sankey pulled one on him. Just to be honest with you. What do you think he did?
Well, so this is what I'm getting at. He's done a very poor job of explaining the logic, and we've pointed out a lot of the contradictions he's had. He's done a really bad job of explaining the logic for the AQ model that he has pitched, and the reason why is because he can't outwardly share the message that he wants to. They want to expand for more money.
Bingo.
They want to have solidified spots in the playoff for more money. So this is why Sankey now holds the cards, is because he can say, we'll stick at 12. You're not getting that extra money for more teams to get in for a larger playoff field because we now have the best chance to contribute the most teams to the playoff field. That is where the win happens with this. I agree with what you said, though. If somehow there's a chess move that we don't see coming, this really does kind of.
Did it land? Did it land? Because if it is going to be strength of schedule and strength of record, Joe, I don't know if Alabama doesn't get in over Indiana.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, they will in a situation like that. If this was to go back to something that we were talking about pre-show, you and I were having a conversation about Clemson, South Carolina. That game in that specific, and I know that that's we're talking ACC teams here, but that game to me now puts South Carolina in at 9-3.
Yeah.
If strength of win matters more. Clemson gets in because they win the ACC. SMU doesn't get in. I think that then also on top of that, the argument for Indiana to not get in as well. So the Big Ten only gets 3 teams. The ACC only gets 1. The Big 12 only gets 1.
SEC gets 5.
And the rest of the playoff field is the SEC and Notre Dame and G5. I can't imagine that there is going to be an effective counter move to this by the Big Ten. I think that they're going to have to concede now that Sankey agreed to do this.
The only thing they could do is go to 10 conference games, which would be even.
Wait, hold on. Oh, that's actually extremely effed up. You think that the Big Ten would, out of spite, do 10 games?
Well, no, I don't think it's out of spite. I think they're trying. There's no mathematical equation that they could get to a tougher strength of schedule without, they're going to have to add tougher teams to the schedule. They're going to have to, because what if the playoff selection committee really uses the metric of strength of schedule? Let's just say hypothetically they do that. Then we're going to be in a situation. How in the world is the Big Ten going to do that? Joe, let me just throw a hypothetical. If I'm Greg Sankey, I'm telling every president and every AD, do not schedule a Big Ten team. Make them figure it out. Make them figure
that has to be some form of collusion, or
it's not collusion.
How is that? But how is that not like? How is there not some sort of business like parameter that prevents that from happening?
Hold on now. But as much as I've been on Greg Sankey's ass, let's not act like the Big Ten and Petiti have not been taking shots at the SEC for the last 6 months.
No, they have been. I'm just saying that it sounds. You're right. If I'm Sankey, I am saying to all of my athletic directors, do not schedule a Big Ten team no matter what. Schedule Notre Dame as much as you guys want. Go to the Big 12, go to the ACC. But that does feel like that should not be ethically allowed. And I don't think that there's any laws that prevent it necessarily, but it kind of does feel like.
Shouldn't have been talking shit. I mean, with all due respect, you talked a lot of shit publicly. A lot of shit. And you're not gonna, Joe.
Well, but wait, but hold on one second. This is, I don't mean to cut you off before you went down there. But this is the whole point why this is another reason why the Big Ten is now screwed, and they're not going to be able to get what they want, because Petiti has to come with his hands out saying like, okay, can you please schedule our Big Ten teams because we need you.
Well, and I mean, why would you? But then here's the thing. You know what else he's going to probably have to cave to? A 5+11 model.
That's my point. Yeah, he's going to have to agree to that in order to get the effective scheduling.
But hold on. Let's address something here that's very key. Let's not act like that this isn't the right thing for either conference. Meaning, if there's a Big Ten team that has a top 5 strength of schedule, we will do the same exact thing for them. I think people come in here and say, oh, Blake and Joe, SEC homers. No. If the same thing applies, the same thing applies.
Right. This is where, it's very easy to kind of miss this point, as you would now create everybody having an equally competitive schedule. And this goes exactly in line with what I said a month ago.
So they're going to have to do 10 power games.
Yeah. But
some of them might have to do 11.
This is my point, is that everybody needs to have the same scheduling requirements of having to play non-conference opponents that are power opponents. And I think that once everyone has the same schedules, it eliminates the debate on who has the harder schedule.
Joe, newsflash, as of right now, I think this is going to change. As of right now in 2027, with the 9-game conference schedule, LSU has 11 Power 4 opponents. 11. Joe, you got a team that might go 8-4 that has the number 1 overall strength of schedule, and they might go 4-3 against ranked opponents. You know, like, You're not going to get away with this, but there is a part of me that wonders if the playoff because the playoff committee is not full of SEC people.
No, and it's not consistent either.
It's not consistent at all. So, Look, what does that say for the ACC and Big 12? Because we keep clamoring about the Big 10. We didn't even bring up the ACC and Big 12. I mean,
they're not, but because they're kind of the goofy bystanders in this whole thing. They're kind of just waiting to see what.
Is it a death knell for more than outside of the automatic qualifier?
They were already cooked. They were already in a position where the at-large was always the best thing for them, because them agreeing to take 2 at-large spots maximum was so stupid. They never should have agreed to it. So they're kind of just standing here and waiting for their 2 big brothers to finish fighting until something happens.
Listen, I don't think the SEC needed to go to 9. I do think it's dumb to wear yourself down that way. But everybody wants to talk about, oh, they haven't won the last 2 national titles. Okay, hold on. There was always going to be a ripple effect when Saban left. Always. There was always going to be an effect when you had that many new coaches at SEC programs. No one is saying the Big Ten sucks. No one, myself included. But I do think that there comes a part in time when you have Indiana and Nebraska canceling P4 games. Joe, they got to reschedule. They got to put P4 teams on their schedule now. I mean,
that was one thought that I had, is that's going to be a cluster F, is that now Indiana and Nebraska
they're going to have to pay those teams not to play.
Yeah.
I mean, Kennesaw State, I mean, for Indiana, what do you have a team that just went up to Division I from Georgia going to play you? What are you doing?
They're probably going to. They're the biggest. Those specific teams are the biggest losers, and then teams like LSU and Florida.
Well, and teams like Ohio State, Penn State, with all due regard, Oregon, those teams don't have to worry. It's the other ones that have been canceling these.
No, it was dumb. It was dumb that they did it in the first place.
Well, I hate it for them. I mean, I do, because I do think the sport's better when you have more equality of the nation, but it is what it is.